Alright, welcome along to the podcast, and if you're one of the 10 to 15 people that actually tune in for this nonsense whenever it's uploaded, I suppose I should apologise. I don't want to be that guy that comes on at the start of every episode apologising for not uploading. It is what it is, and I will get a schedule in place, but if you are some of the regular listeners, I do apologise. We will get the finger pulled out at some point. We will get a decent upload schedule to this podcast as soon as humanly possible. So for now, I just wanted to kind of push the email for this podcast, Sceam Me Up Botty at gmail.com. If you want to contact me directly, that is probably the best bet for this podcast. It goes up on the SoundCloud and it gets dispersed over iTunes, all that sort of good stuff. But some places where the podcast is probably going out, I probably won't see any comments on whatever platform it is. So the email's probably the best bet. Again, Sceam Me Up Botty at gmail.com. So let's get into some more Star Trek. Alright, so here we go with our little chat about Star Trek. We're into the tastiness that is the original series, and we're into Season 2 of Episode 13, entitled Obsession. Very, very tasty little episode. I enjoyed this one. Even though I'm running a science fiction podcast that is currently directed specifically at Star Trek, this is one of those episodes that I can't recall seeing before. Always on repeat somewhere on TV. If I come across the original series, I'm going to sit down and watch the thing. But there's a few episodes I've got through and they run that I haven't seen, this being one of them. If I had seen it before, no memory of it. So, simple plot synopsis for the episode: they're having a survey on a planet, Argus 10. There's a team from the Enterprise, Captain Kirk's with them, and he starts to smell this odour and sends three of the security team to find the source, and he orders them, you come across this thing, fire immediately. Don't pause, don't second guess. You see this gaseous creature, take your phasers out, shoot the thing. As they're out looking for it, this creature appears and attacks two of the members of the security team. But an Ensign Rizzo disobeys Kirk's order, doesn't fire his phaser. And on the communicator, Kirk again orders Rizzo to fire, but he just stands there. He's frozen, he's scared, and he gets attacked as well. And as the lone survivor, essentially, from these three guys on the sick bay in the Enterprise, he's dying, and they discovered the blood of all three victims had been drained of hemoglobin, fearing the killer to be a gaseous entity that Kirk encountered 11 years before while serving on board the USS Farragut. Kirk neglects to rendezvous. I am saying that word right, but it sounds wrong coming out of my mouth. The Enterprise has to get to the USS Yorktown, meet up with it. They have this shipment that needs to get to the Yorktown. It's an antivirus for another planet, and it's time sensitive. It has to get there immediately. But he neglects to go to this rendezvous to hunt for this creature instead. While the Enterprise crew fails to find the creature using the sensors on the ship, Kirk decides to send a second landing party with 5 security officers plus himself, again warning all the men to fire full phaser power at this thing if they see it. This time Garrovick does fire as ordered, but only after hesitating when the creature attacks. It drains the hemoglobin out of two more crew members, the others being of Captain Kirk. So back in the ship, my notes are all over the show here. Back up in the ship, Kirk learns that the security officer Garrovick hesitated to fire his phaser upon the creature. He relieves the ensign of his duties and confines him to quarters. Chief Medical Officer McCoy then is reviewing records of the previous encounter Kirk had while he was on board the USS Farragut, and confronts Captain Kirk over his obsession with this creature. Turns out that a young Lieutenant Kirk had hesitated in firing his phaser at the creature when he'd come across it before. It's left me how many years ago it was between this attack, 13 years or something like that there on the Farragut. Kirk, back then young, what is his rank, lieutenant, came across this creature, hesitated to fire, and long story short, too late, says you. The thing subsequently killed half of the Farragut crew, including Garrovick's father. So it becomes clear now at this point, while Kirk removed Garrovick from active duty, it's his way of trying to protect this kid, as his own actions led to the death of Garrovick's father years beforehand. Even though he was given a commendation for bravery, Kirk continues to blame himself for the deaths of everybody that died that day, and he maintains that the creature poses an urgent threat. Even shouting at crew members on and off, this is taking over. They need this obsession to get after this creature and take it out. Skirk. I was trying to say Spock and Kirk at the one time when I came out. Skirk. So there's a new name for you, a new word for you. Spock and McCoy, they're in the quarters of Kirk, and they're talking over everything that's going on. Chekhov interrupts the discussion to tell them that the cloud creature is moving away from the planet. It's in space now and heading somewhere else. The Enterprise chases after the creature at pretty much maximum speed, but then reduces its speed until the creature turns and advances on the ship. This shows that the creature has got, it knows what it's doing. It's making decisions and whatnot. There's maybe arguments on and off about whether this is an entity that truly knows what it's doing, or it's just doing what it naturally does to survive, but it shows that it has decision-making capabilities. Coming up towards the end of the episode, it comes after the ship. Kirk orders Kirk orders that the phasers and photon torpedoes to fire on it. Neither have any effect on the creature. It just pretty much passes through it. The creature then comes to the Enterprise, passes through the shields and into the ventilation system. At this point, Spock points out to Kirk that since the creature, we've just gotten proof now that the creature cannot be harmed by conventional weapons, you've got nothing to regret about your earlier encounter on the Farragut. You don't have to blame yourself anymore. It wouldn't have mattered if you fired when you should have fired or froze, and it makes no difference. The crew was going to die that day no matter what you did. So he's trying to, it gets through to Kirk a little bit, but he also knows now that Garrovick is in the same situation now that Kirk is in. He's in his quarters, and he's blaming himself for the deaths of the other people that was with him earlier on in the episode. So Spock is trying to convince Garrovick that he did nothing wrong. The creature then emerges from a damaged vent in Garrovick's room. Spock manages to get him out, and he tries to shut down the vent. He stays in the quarters after he throws Garvick out, and he's enveloped by this creature. But his copper-based green blood repels it. The thing, it's taking the hemoglobin from blood, but because Spock been a Vulcan, his blood's not the same. This thing's not going to feed on him. So after really coming to the realization that neither he nor Garvick could have harmed the creature in any way, Kirk tells the ensign to return to duty. Nice little moment between the two of them there. The creature finally leaves the ship. Kirk believing it to be heading to the Tycho system. If I remember the name properly, that's where he originally encountered the creature. So it's a different planet that they made it on in this episode, but it leaves. Everything happens up to this point. So Kirk works out that this thing's heading back to the Tycho system to spawn, make more of itself. Kirk and Garvick beam down at the end of the episode with an antimatter bomb. Kirk was going to go down on his own, but this Garvick guy saying, I'm going to go down in the name of my father, more or less. They decide an antimatter bomb is the best way to take this thing out. They get to the planet, they're all set up. The creature is approaching them, about to suck the blood from them, essentially just vampirize their asses. Kirk and Garvick beam away. At the last second, the bomb explodes, annihilating the entity. That is pretty much the be-all and end-all of the episode. Some notes that I came across online for this thing. I love to not just talk about an episode, but like to learn a little bit more about it myself whenever I'm recording these things. So I'll do it in real time. So just looking at the production notes for this here that I've came across, the writer Art Wallace noted that he based the story on Moby Dick, and series writer DC Fontana observed that it had similarities to the earlier episode, The Doomsday Machine. So yeah, I can see that, definitely. The Moby Dick thing's definitely on there. And if you remember The Doomsday Machine, another fantastic episode. If you've never seen that one, go check that out. There is a similar scenario where a captain goes after the creature that killed his crew, sacrificing himself. So both stories very Moby Dick orientated. When director Ralph Senensky, if I pronounced that surname right, he left to observe the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, producer John Meredith Lucas took his place for a few hours on this episode, making his directorial debut for the series. Later, Lucas directed the Ultimate Computer, Inan of Troyes, and the Enterprise Incident. Lieutenant Leslie, played by regular Star Trek background actor Eddie Paskey, is killed in the episode. However, his character reappears and is referred to by name in many subsequent episodes. Paskey is one of the core group of regular Star Trek extras and appears in almost every episode, including the second pilot where no man has gone before, until he left the show in the middle of the third season. Reception for this episode. I really enjoy looking into the reception of them. Zach Hanlon of the AV Club gave the episode a B rating, saying that Garvick isn't important to the viewers because this is the only episode we see him in, and that Kirk's obsession is a nice flaw to see in an otherwise too perfect character. I agree with that completely as far as the flaw in Kirk's character goes, because just every episode you're kind of like Kirk shows up and he's like, "Woohoo, we come in peace, shoot to kill." If you get that reference, you're an absolute legend. But I don't really agree with him saying that Garvick isn't important to the viewers because it's the only episode we see him in. He's there, plays the part, but you don't have to be hanging about a character for like 15 or 20 episodes to feel for them. You do feel for Garrovick on this episode. 2014, Gizmodo ranked Obsession as the 43rd best episode of Star Trek out of the 700 made by the time. They note it shows the dangers of an out of control captain, and that Kirk has become obsessed with getting revenge in this episode. 2009, Game Radar noted this episode for the deaths of crewmen during the away mission on the planet's surface. The red shirts. This is an hour episode that just like, if you show up in Star Trek and you've got a red shirt on, chances are you're going to die. 2019, Nerdist included this episode on their Best of Kirk binge-watching guide. So that is, that's pretty much all I've got for you as far as this episode goes. Very, very good one. And it's still this series, even though it is so old now, like the rewatchability factor of the original series of Star Trek is phenomenal. It's like, for an episode and series that was put out in the 1960s, like the original broadcast date for this episode was December 15th, 1967. It's a long flipping time ago, and for something that was made so long ago to have that rewatchability factor and still be, I don't care who this is going to anyway as far as new Star Trek fans goes, but the Star Trek Discovery, Strange New Worlds, all that sort of stuff, I enjoy watching them, but the rewatchability factor for a lot of it, like Strange New World, I'll say this, that show definitely does have a rewatchability factor, but a lot of the other shows that have come out as far as new Star Trek goes, not so much. Maybe the third series of Picard, but Star Trek, the original series, up to this point, I don't think there's been many missteps in the first 2 seasons. And saying that there, I'm having a memory from a prior episode here. I think a few episodes back might have been one of the lower points of the series, but it's not often you get a series that has an appeal that was made in the 60s that's still hanging about and you could watch today. Class. I'm starting to trip over my words now. I should probably get off this podcast before I'm, talking complete and utter nonsense, more so than I am at the moment. That's going to do it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know in that email, sceammeupbotty@gmail.com. Share this along with anybody you think might be interested in this sort of thing. And if you are interested in anything else that we're making, check out coinsagemedia.com, the website that has absolutely everything else we're doing beyond this podcast. So that's going to do it, guys. Stay safe, and I will talk to you in the next episode. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.